All right, Cole, on the minds of many Alabama fans, what is it going to take for this Alabama football team to make the 4-team playoff? What is your take?
There are a lot of scenarios where that can happen different ways. And the reason that this is more inexact than we ever really think about, even if we want to talk about who wins a certain championship game or what another team does against a certain opponent, is that these are human beings who are going to be making this decision.
Right.
So we can't sit here and give exact scenarios for if this happens, because they can go off the rails like they did last year with Ohio State when we all thought Penn State was in and just make a decision that we never expected. My opinion is that if Alabama's going to get in, I truly think one thing needs to happen. I think Oklahoma needs to lose to TCU because I believe that committee is going to take Clemson or Miami and that team's going to be in. Auburn or Georgia and that team is going to be in.
Yep.
So if you take Ohio State and Wisconsin and that winner is in, Oklahoma needs to go away for Alabama to be able to find a way in.
Okay, but now Ohio State. What about Ohio State?
But that to me is the one way that I think it's almost a done deal that Alabama gets in. Now, if you want to talk about Oklahoma winning and Ohio State winning, and then all of a sudden we're going to place Ohio State and Alabama next to each other,
right.
That's where it comes down to, I believe it's only going to be 10 people voting because of the ties to certain schools in this scenario.
Okay.
Those people making the decision of who has the better resume, who's the better team, who's the most deserving, whatever their slogan is or whatever their mission statement is, because you can't find it on their website, and Bill Hancock gives us a different one every year at SEC Media Days. So whatever it is this year, if it's the four most deserving, if it's the 4 best, if it's the 4 most impressive, whatever it is, you put those two teams next to each other, that comes down to their decision. Now, if you ask me for my decision, I think Alabama's a better football team than Ohio State because let's just look at the resume and let's look what Alabama did to, sure, maybe inferior opponents, maybe not as strong of a resume as what Ohio State had on their schedule, but
Ohio State's losses.
Alabama dominated the teams that they beat the majority of the way through the season. I think Alabama should get credit for beating a Florida State team that went into that game number 3 and that a lot of people thought was going to meet Alabama again in the college football playoff. So side by side, for me, it's Alabama, but Ohio State has something that Alabama doesn't have. And that's a chance to go out this weekend and change the mind of a lot of voters and potentially put a lot of things behind them. Because you can't just get stuck on wins, losses anymore. And I think it's unfortunate for a team like Wisconsin to be where they are, that we've devalued going undefeated. And that's not necessarily a completely bad thing, and I don't think being undefeated should be the end-all be-all, but we have sort of brought on this new mindset of forgiveness with team. Oh, if you lose, it's okay. No one talks about the fact that Clemson lost to a 4-win football team.
Right.
I don't care if Kelly Bryant.
You're the most
talented team in college football.
Regardless if your quarterback plays or not.
You shouldn't lose to a 4-loss football team, ever. You should be able to play Christian Wilkins at quarterback and win that football game. It shouldn't matter. So we're going to give passes in certain areas and certain things, but I just think that being undefeated is still very hard. There would be more than 2 teams that were undefeated right now if it was easy. It's not. So I think Wisconsin deserves a little bit more credit for that than we're giving them, but at the end of the day, it'll come down to what that committee thinks and what's in their mind, and the difficult part of trying to project it is it's their opinion. Now, we like that, and that's a good thing, but it also takes away some of the certainty of if this happens, this team's in. If this happens, this team's in. The reality is we don't know.